Boys and girls, welcome back to Social Studies for Tuesday eLearning. It's kind of hard to see at the top, but we are learning about the Boston Tea Party. So it's time to party. Okay, Boomer, that's enough. All right, so the Boston Tea Party, we'll talk about this real quick. It really wasn't much of a party, and you need to pay special attention to what the Sons of Liberty are doing because that's probably going to be your question for today. So when we get to the John Adams and the Sons of Liberty, you better pay attention. The Boston Tea Party in 1773, Parliament passed the Tea Act. It gave Britain's East India Company a monopoly on tea. A legal monopoly gives complete control of a good or service in an area to one person or group. This includes control over pricing and competition. Only the East India Company was allowed to sell tea to the colonies. Basically, what had happened is there was a Tea Act passed by Parliament. Parliament, again, was the British government. They were over in England. They were making rules for the colonies. This particular act, the Tea Act, said that only the East India Company, that was a company from England, only the East India Company could sell tea to the colonists. They had a legal monopoly. Monopoly means they were the only company that could sell tea to the colonists. So when there's only one company that can sell tea, they can control however much they want to pay for or how much they want to sell it for. And pretty much that's it. You either buy from them or you don't have tea. And so this was the Tea Act. And again, it was with the East India Company. I wonder how the colonists are going to, what they're going to think about this. So the next section is called a boycott of tea. The Tea Act meant that colonists had to buy their tea from the East India Company. They could either pay the tax on tea or not drink tea at all. Many colonists decided to boycott tea. Boycott, again, means that they just quit drinking it. They decided, we're not buying it. We're done with it. We're just going to boycott it. Some even made a kind of tea from local sassafras trees. So some of them had sassafras trees and they were able to make a type of tea. It really wasn't tea, but it was a drink, and they did that in spite of the Tea Act. One day, ships carrying thousands of pounds of tea set sail for the colonies. So over in England, there was thousands of tea on ship, pounds of teas, thousand pounds of tea on ships. That was a tough one to say. And they were sending it over to the colonies. In late November 1773, 3 of the ships reached Boston. Against the wishes of many colonists, the Massachusetts governor let the ships dock. So a lot of the colonists were like, look, when they get here, don't even let them dock. Just say, hey, go on, leave. We don't want your tea. But the governor said, no, go ahead and dock. And some of the colonists were angered about that. Violence in the Boston harbor. Many people think Samuel Adams planned what happened next. On the night of December 16th, 1773, about 150 members of the Sons of Liberty dressed as members of the Mohawk tribe and marched down to the Boston harbor. So on that night, 150 colonists, members of the Sons of Liberty, dressed up as Mohawk tribe members. Okay, those were Native Americans. They dressed up as them. Okay, let's see what happens next. At the harbor, hundreds of people gathered on the docks to watch. When members of the Sons of Liberty arrived, they boarded the ships, broke open more than 300 chests of tea, and threw it all overboard into the water. Their angry protest became known as the Boston Tea Party. All right, a couple things here. One, again, the Sons of Liberty dressed up as the Mohawk tribe. They marched down to the harbor, boarded the ships, found the chest of teas, broke the tea chest open, and then took the tea and they threw it into the harbor or the water. So that tea was destroyed. Second, it said at the harbor, hundreds of people were gathered on the docks to watch. That means these are other people, other colonists that were not the Sons of Liberty dressed up as Mohawk tribe. These were other colonists happened to be sitting on the dock when this was going to happen. That's interesting. You might see something about that on your question here in a couple of minutes in Schoology. So obviously they took all this tea, they threw it in the harbor, it was destroyed, and I wonder what the British and Parliament and everybody's going to think about this. I'm going to give you a little preview of the next page. The next page, or the title is The Coercive Acts. It says the Boston Tea Party angered British leaders in March of 1774. Now remember, the Boston Tea Party happened in December, so in March the following year, about 3 months later, in March of 1774, Parliament passed a new set of laws to punish the Massachusetts colonists. These laws were called the Coercive Acts because they coerced or forced the colonists to follow laws that they felt were unfair. Coerced means forced. So these coercive acts means forced acts or forced laws for the colonists to follow. Yeah, they don't sound too good. Now, some of you all are probably reading ahead. That's okay. We'll read this tomorrow. I need you all to go to Schoology. It's going to be in the math folder. Again, everything's in the math folder, Math 6. And I need you to answer the 2 questions regarding what we just read. It's going to have to do with the Sons of Liberty dressing up as the Mohawk tribe, and it's going to have to be do with hundreds of people sitting on the dock watching this. All right, enjoy your Boston Tea Party. I'm going to get back to the party.